Dr. Doreen, welcome to Women Finding Clarity.
Well, I am so happy already. Look at your bright smile. And you know that we've had conversation in the past, so I'm really looking forward to picking up and dancing in the moment with you again.
Oh, you're just so poetic in the way that you speak, and it's so beautiful. I loved my conversation with you on your show, and I just couldn't wait for the time to get here so
Yeah.
I could host you because you're just such a wealth of, like I said, not only poetry, but you're just such a wealth of wisdom. And I know you have so much to share.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, of course. So I want to just kind of jump right in. And as we're getting started, I'd love to hear from you how you got here. What was in your life's PhD that brought you to actually getting a PhD and then helping other women or other people learn to find their voice?
What a great question to start with. I have so many stories, but the one that comes up immediately, because it does feel like it underlies so much of my philosophy, was when I was 5 years old. I lived with my grandma because my mother was in and out of hospitals for depression. And whenever mom came back, my grandma would be quiet, your mother's sick, you're gonna make her go back to the hospital, so you better be, like. So I think that that was the beginning of me, like what you just did, put your hand on your chest and your throat. It's just like, oh, I better shut up here. But what I also noticed is that outside the front window of my grandma's house was, it was like a wonderland. She had roses, red roses that were so fragrant. My sister and I tried to make perfume by, rubbing them together and trying to get the juice and make perfume out of the red roses. But it doesn't quite work. But it was so fragrant. But the idea I'm trying to make right now is that inside the house was mom and sickness, and I better be quiet. And outside was all this growth, all this beauty. My grandma also had a bird cage out there, an aviary. So there was just all this life, running around, and gladiolas, and I don't know, whatever kind of flower you can think of that blossoms and is really bright. And that kind of threshold, here's the front door. I look out, there's life, and I turn around, look behind me, and there's pain. So I think that my ability as a little girl to understand both the suffering as well as the possibility, the pain and the possibility at the same time, right there on that threshold. And, I don't think that I would abandon my mother and just go out into life. And I don't think I wanted to stay in the pain. So I needed to do both, go in and out. And I think metaphorically, that's, I would say, the beginning of my story, and an answer to your question about what what was underlying me making this journey to have a doctorate in psychology, where I got to work with people and be able to say, hello in there. I know that there's pain, but guess what? Out here, there's there's life. Let's help you get there. And that's my story.
It's tragic and beautiful and so inspiring because you could have stayed inside and you could have allowed it to just envelop you and you could have become part of the pain. And yet, even at 5 years old, you were able to see all I have to do is step outside of the door. And that kind of turns off the pain for a little while.
Mhm. Yeah, it's so compelling, the draw to life. And I think that inside of us, growth and, uh, I don't know, maybe even you want to go to destiny.
Well, I do.
What I was destined to become.
Yes, yes. And the fact that I mean, I would imagine at 5 years old, you weren't like, look at this comparison. How is this
Yeah,
going to guide
yeah,
me in my life? But the fact that you were able to turn around and look at that and recognize that it truly helped shape who you are and who you were as a person.
yes. Yeah, to claim that that's my strength, to be able to go in both directions. And that's why I think what I've done later, when I realized I was hiding myself, I was holding myself back because I was afraid also, even though I just told you about the two parts, I still feel like the other part about how I held myself back and how didn't go across that threshold in my life. I had the PhD. Yes, that's all I needed was to say, hello, I'm fine, but I really wasn't inside. And that's a whole nother story about how I got to the business I've designed since then.
So I want to just hit the pause button for a moment, and I want to acknowledge you for the person that you were and what feels to me like the person that you still are today with every conversation you and I have already had, in that you don't seem like you made your mother wrong. You don't seem like you made your grandma wrong. You just feel to me like you're factual. You're
Oh,
just, it
mhm,
is, it is what it is. It was what it was. And you didn't make anyone wrong about it. It
mhm,
just was. And you were able to grow from that circumstance.
mhm. Yeah, you're right. And the what you just pointed to, I'm doing this kind of twisting. The looking at it is important. And I think that's what my message is to people who are listening today is, we do have our blocked places, our stuck places, and not all we have to do, but I would say that the first step is to turn around and look at yourself, look at your life, maybe take your fingers and comb way back when, and you might get some information that would be helpful for you now.
Absolutely. So beautiful. So moving forward to, okay, you had your PhD and you still, even though you were at the door, you were at the golden door, I've got my PhD, and you still had work to do
Yes.
within yourself. So let's talk a little bit about that, or a lot of bit about it, because what did that look like for you in having the huge accomplishment of a PhD and yet still not your voice?
Oh, wow. That drops me down into remembering a little bit and feeling sad for all the work, the 8 years of getting a PhD and getting to the end and saying, is this it? Is this all there is?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then starting to do my business, developing a private practice, and but realizing I wasn't really more fully alive. There's a story that I've heard tell about Michelangelo seeing the angel in the marble. And that is what I came across at some point when I first decided to start exploring what the heck? How come I don't feel like I have a voice? Well, of course, I was trained to be a listener. I wasn't trained to be a speaker.
Right?
That's my gift, of course, and that's my expertise and my superpower. All of that comes together in listening. So, but then how do you promote yourself? How do you show up at meetings? How do you, if you're invited to take the stage, how do you do that if you still feel like you are so scared and you don't have a voice?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what happened. I was invited and I said, not me. And then I wouldn't say humiliated, but it sounds like what I'm going to say right now sounds like the person pointed at me and said, shame on you. Because she said, when I said, I can't, because I'm afraid of speaking up in public. And she said, What's wrong with you? Isn't fear your business? So don't you see that kind of like shake up moment? But it was good. Like you said a few minutes ago, it's a fact. Somebody confronted me and it was a wake up. All right. Yes, it's true. Am I going to accept that for myself going forward? And here was opportunity knocking. And am I going to, we're using doors a lot today and thresholds. So there I was again on that threshold. Doreen, are you going to come out or not? And that's when I took my first steps in some of those classes in overcoming your fear of public speaking. But I knew what I was going for then, the angel. I had enough marble, enough degrees, enough
Yeah.
reading.
And that's what it feels like, isn't it? As an entrepreneur, you start to feel like, oh, but I need to learn this other thing before I can be successful. Oh, but I need to learn this other thing and take this other class and get this other certification. When in the reality is
Mhm.
we are innately creators. And that's what we're here to do is create. And so all we have to do, like you said earlier, I mean, there is no all we have to do because it can feel enormous, the next one thing that we have to do.
Yeah.
The next one thing that we have to do is just summon the courage or just pick up the ink pen or just pick up the paintbrush, right? And whatever it is, and just start to create and then allow the energy of creation to kind of carry us through.
Oh, I just had an insight that getting into the car and driving to San Francisco to my first class on overcoming your fear of public speaking was a creative act. I was taking action, right? I was moving myself towards the unknown, and that's what creativity is about. And so that was a thank you. That was a creative act to take myself, and it was a courageous, it definitely was a courageous act that
It
night.
sure was. And I mean, look at you. Like, it wasn't in a time when, oh, there's a Zoom class, let me just log in. You
Mm.
physically had to get in the car and drive toward your fear.
Yes.
That's story.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm appreciating it more now with your reflection. Thank you.
Oh, I'm so glad. Thank you for sharing that. And that's what life is, isn't it? It's just little learning moments, little ahas all along the way that
Yeah.
kind of help propel us even further.
Yes. Yeah, one step at a time. And that class was so meaningful to me that I kept going month after month after month because it was a monthly course that they offered at a place called the Learning Annex. It was a kind of a outside of school educational personal growth opportunity. And that led to me doing Toastmasters, which was a little too formal,
Okay.
a little too, let's be an entertainer or let's do vocal variety, let's be I didn't want to be a performer. I just wanted to be myself. I wanted to be real. I wanted to be okay to show up any place, anytime with my voice and be able to express myself with truth, with strength, and your word courage. So I I did find something else that I felt was more in line with what I was looking for. And I can tell you about that if you want to know.
Beautiful. And, that in itself is a gift because sometimes to find what we want, we
Uh,
have to find what we don't want. And so you went through Toastmasters and you learned so much from that because you learned that this isn't for me, this isn't what I want. And so that helped you become even more clear in what you did want.
However, it is fun to win contests. Was I in it for winning contests or was I was I really in it to bring out the truth and more freedom actually? Was there more freedom or did I have to kind of fit myself into speaker mode?
Mhm.
And I chose to do another form of finding your voice.
And what was that? What was the next thing?
A mentor, Lee Glickstein, who wrote the book, Be Heard Now, tap into your inner speaker and communicate with ease. I think that says it all.
That says it all. And it's like, oh, okay, I'll do that. Right. But
Yeah.
certainly I can only imagine that there are steps along the way that get you from point A to point B. It's
Yeah.
not like we said earlier, all you have to do is.
Yes. 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 He create a program called Speaking Circles, and you're surrounded by people who agree to give you only positive feedback or essence, something more about a strength that, and we grow from strength as opposed to, oh, put your arms down or make sure you're making eye contact or any of the kind of speakerly types of things. This was just finding your ability to be present in the moment. And he would always say, in order to be heard now, you have to be here now. And that just, vibrates, resonates with, yeah, mic drop.
The
Yeah,
mic drop. Yeah.
yeah.
Say that
Yeah.
again, please.
To be
Yeah.
heard now, you have to be here now.
Right in
Wow.
the center.
Yeah. So that was the practice, is to find presence and to find grounded sense of being, not necessarily speaking, but from being, then words come, and they're more my words. They're more, when I guide people to this inner state of being, they get surprised that words can flow more easily. But you're right, it is a step process.
Absolutely. There's always going to be the tactile, the practical, the all of that. But at the end of the day, you have to center yourself and pull from within and channel that divine gift that you have that is your voice and allow that to come out, because we can all memorize facts and figures. We can all memorize poems and recite them, but it's something completely different to be able to reach down inside of yourself and pull that out using your voice.
Yes, you've really described it so well. I almost want to say, oh, can you just show up next time and say it for me? That was very, very well captured in the essence of what I teach, because it is about your essence and like what you're talking about. And we're both using our hands to go down and in and then coming up. And so when I work with people, they want to get rid of the fear. And my approach is to face it, embrace it. And once you've moved down into the essence, fear starts, when you find your voice comes up and it begins to dissolve fear from the inside out. It's a whole new technique. I haven't really ever called it a technique as such, but that's what came out right now, is that people want techniques. So we got a technique.
Absolutely. And it is a technique because it's it's something you can learn to do, and
Yes.
that makes it a technique. And we all have it inside of us, right? But what do you feel like is the underpinning thing that you have found that stops people from using their voice?
Fear.
Fear.
Oh, yeah, F-E-A-R, fear. And it's something we aren't born with. Well, instinctively, there is obviously our animal nature. We are somewhat guarded, but it seems like if we're surrounded with embracing, that's why my second step is about embracing. If we're, we have that warmth, and that when we're feeling scared as little ones and somebody holds us tight, there's a relaxation and a safety. Can we do that to ourselves? That's why embracing your fear is so different than trying to get rid of it.
Yeah, yeah. And a few moments ago when you were talking about instead of trying to erase the fear,
Uh-huh,
really, turning within and embracing it and all the things, the picture that came into my mind were of horses,
uh-huh,
right? And putting the reins on the horses and allowing their energy to pull you forward. And, if you've ever ridden a horse, they've got the reins and you can move the reins to move the horse. And that's what I was envisioning, that you can bring your voice out by reining it, harnessing that power and
yeah,
allowing it to pull you forward.
right, and, so you had asked, it's fear, yes, fear is what stops people from finding or expressing themselves, and I think that also, there's another one is belief. I don't think I can, or I've always been this way, or don't ask me to ever be in front of people, or don't ever give me a microphone, just on and on and on of this sense of this is who I am. I'm shy, or I'm introverted, or I'm not very good at it. And so there's this identity, and that would be something I would want to have people wake up to. Yeah, up to now, maybe that's true for you, but there's the door to open up to possibility, to the more. And I can show you the way, shining, shimmering, splendid, which
That
is
is
similar.
exactly the song that has been in my head
Oh,
all day, Doreen. Tell
oh,
me, princess, when did you decide? Like, I've been singing that in my head all day. I'm telling you, you and I have an energetic connection like I have not experienced in a long time with someone.
yes.
It's unbelievable. Yes. And I feel like I don't remember what it was exactly, but when I was on your show and
Uh-huh.
there was something else that the
Yeah,
both of us were just like, oh my gosh,
yes. We could go back and listen because I
I
just
I'm
released
gonna
it
have
last
to.
week.
Oh my
Oh,
goodness. I can't
yeah,
believe it, singing that song all morning. And it's not like I've watched the movie or, Aladdin for anyone who doesn't know. But
right.
yeah, wow. Okay.
Pascal, I have not used that phrase probably maybe since my wedding day, because that was one of the songs I had sung, so.
Oh,
So,
ooh wee. I'm sorry for that, like squirrel, but that just totally talk about. Okay,
mm,
this is going to take us in a little bit of a different direction, but still the same. Is that A, there's no such thing as coincidence, and B, this conversation is serendipitous.
yes, yeah, yeah. And I think when two people who this is the beauty of what's possible in life, is when two people understand what essence means and how to be with each other in a more open, spacious, allowing sort of way without trying to answer questions that are scripted.
Yes.
Possibility pops,
Yeah. And it's beautiful.
and
If
yeah,
you're not listening and watching on YouTube, you need to hop over to YouTube, because I think like the expressions on our face in that moment where we were both singing and talking about the same song was just priceless. And that is the magic, isn't it?
yes.
Of using your voice and allowing yourself to be an organic conversation.
Organic conversation. I never heard it said that way. Great. Yes.
See, there
Yes.
you
Hmm.
go. We're dropping all kinds of truth here today, Doreen.
Yes. Yeah, we are. We're powerful. Yeah, because we're in our superpower. And when that's what we want for people, is to drop down into what is so powerful about them. And then power is something, not power over, it's just power of being, expression, and it's exciting. It's an exciting way to live.
It is exciting. And it all goes back to that place inside of us that's innately there,
Yeah.
which is our creativity.
Oh, yeah, that's where we were talking about creativity. Yes.
Brings us all the way full circle because the organic conversation and the, like you said, it's not scripted. We're not painting by numbers.
You're
We're
right.
in a creative conversation and we're literally just playing off of what the other person has said and watching this beautiful conversation bloom.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. We need to do this more often, my friend.
Well, yeah, maybe we should have a podcast together and invite people.
I think that could be a fantastic idea.
Or just the Doreen and Pascale show where we get together and see what pops that day.
Love it. I love it. What door is going to open today, Doreen?
Yeah. Oh, that'd be fun.
So I want to bring it back around to you because you're just so interesting. And I want to hear a little bit more. You've kind of started to allude to
Um,
how you work with people and your process and all of that. Do you work one-on-one with people? Do you work in groups? Is it for an indefinite period of time, or have you found a particular formula that you feel like you lean into
uh-huh.
all the time?
Yeah, you could call it a formula. Call it a 7-step process. You can also call it my 7-step solution to stage fright. If you want to get real concrete, in the
Yeah.
book I wrote about it is the 7 secrets to essential speaking. So there are all sorts of ways to language it, but there are 7. That is the truth of it for me that I brought together. And I won't go through all of them, but I'll just talk about the first step or the first secret, the first whatever you want to call it. It is being still. And I'm not, all 7 have nothing, well, I don't say speak in any sort of way. It's all, every single secret starts with be. Be still, be present, be attuned. Do you see? Be
Yes.
positive. I said I wasn't going to tell them all, but be connected. And then there's be yourself, which a lot of people just in training programs say, oh, just be yourself. Aha. If you've got terror inside of your gut and you've had panic attacks or trauma in the past, you can't just be yourself. You have to heal yourself in order to drop down and find that essence, that core of who you truly are, which is a process. That's why it's my last step is be yourself. The first step is be still. And that is what is so scary for people is that I'm going to go blank. I got to have words or I've got to have a script or.
Yeah.
So be still, quiet,
Be
be able to
still.
calm, be able to quiet your mind, be able to calm your nervous system, and people have different ways of doing that. So I don't have one method. I help people find the method that works for them so they can trust themselves in any situation where they start to feel the panic coming on, that they're able to recalibrate their body in such a way, ah, I'm okay, I'm here, I'm centered, I'm grounded, I'm present. Ah, how good does that feel? Oh.
And maybe they don't remember the last time they were able to feel that way.
Mhm. Right.
Yeah.
So there's a training on what that feels like when so you asked if I do. Yes, I do individuals, but I also do groups. It's currently a 3-month or a 12-week process. Each week has a lesson. You get access to an online material, plus I work with people weekly in a group, an hour each week. So there's a way to go from start to finish on finding your voice.
Beautiful. So beautiful. And I feel like once I were to step into I'm going to say beautiful again, the beautiful container that you create, I would never want to leave that container. I would always want to continue on. Okay, Doreen, what do you have next? What do you have next?
I
Because
have so much else that's next.
I have no doubt. I have no doubt. You
Listen
know,
to this one that I've done that I love. Find, well, it's voice your vision. Oh, isn't that a good one?
yes, it's a very good one. You and I are going to have to talk more about that.
Yeah, I have, and full presence communication. I have lots and lots of programs, but the first one is my master class, which is just an hour long, where I help people face fear, embrace fear, and replace fear. Because you can't do any of the further kind of learning how to be quiet until you can know how to manage fear in your body and in your mind.
Wow. And that really says it all, doesn't it? Because if you're thinking about a container, and that's what we are containers.
Mm,
Um,
nice.
you think about what's already in the container, and then all the fear is sitting on top of that. And so you're not able to pour out all the beauty that's within the container because the fear is the stopgap. It's sitting on top of everything and not allowing it to pour from the container.
Yes. And you can't let things in or you can't let things out. The juice, life energy, and that goes for people who are listening. It's also, I think, has to do with private, personal partner communications. And I didn't, it's a whole nother story, a whole nother episode about finding my mate later in life and getting married for the first time at 60, which I think has all to do with finding my voice, opening up and allowing somebody in to me.
Ah,
Yeah. So
yeah, you're coming back. We're going to do part two another time, and you're going to have
mhm.
to tell that whole story
Yes.
because that sounds just beautiful and amazing. And you recently just had an anniversary, yes?
Yeah. Yeah. 2 days ago.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
So wonderful. And you're beaming, so I know you're happy.
Yes.
You know, going back to what you were saying, like some people are like, oh, I could never get up on stage. Oh, I could never speak in public. Oh, I could never. Oh, I'm this, I'm that. I, on Friday night, was invited to teach about energy work and lead a guided meditation for someone down Cape. And she had her guests, and the whole, I would say three-quarters was learning about energy and how it shows up in the world and how it shows up in your body and learning about your seven major chakras. And then I led them through a guided meditation. And before we started, I said, do you have any questions? And one person raised their hand and said, well, I can't meditate because my mind won't shut off. And it was bringing, when you were talking about, shoot, what was it in our conversation that made me think of this? It doesn't matter. But she's like,
Quieting your mind.
quieting your mind and all the things. She's like, I can't. Oh, we were talking about, yes, quieting your mind, because I was then thinking in my mind about, because we always have to have distractions like social media and all the things.
Mhm.
So back to this, sorry for that little segue. She's like, I can't meditate because I can't shut my mind off. And the thoughts just keep coming in and it makes me anxious and la la la. So I told her, it's okay. There's no expectation here. That's why meditation is a practice. And that's why, you know, we talked about it a little bit. And then I led them through the guided meditation. And then when it was over, I gave them quiet time for reflection. And then we had time for sharing. And she raised her hand and she said that she was able to, for the first time ever, she said, I could hear your voice, but I was not in this room. She said, I don't know where I was, but I didn't have any thoughts. I could hear you, but I wasn't thinking about anything else. And I
Oh,
said, there you go. now you can meditate, because that's what it is. It's not stopping the thoughts, because
Right.
then you're in
Yes.
resistance.
Yes.
It's allowing the thoughts and then
Right.
watching them float back out again, and
Right.
then coming back to your breath, or coming back to whatever your focus is, right? And so it just felt like such a win that she was able to experience that moment.
Yes. And I would say that there was something about your energy, because that's what it sounds like you were talking about, energy,
Yeah.
that that allowed, because safety is so important when people need to let go of their habits, is
Yeah.
that it's kind of like a surrender. And so I would imagine if I were in your group that night and you were speaking and guiding me, I'd feel like, ah, I could fall back, and trust. It's the trust fall just by your voice.
Mm,
And because, like what you said in the beginning, your voice, it comes from you, the you that we're talking about today.
yeah. The you that is with the capital Y, the self that is with a capital S, right? That
Yeah,
innateness that is inside this container, this vehicle.
yeah. I like the image of ourselves being, our bodies being our container.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for that beautiful reflection, by the way. I don't want you to think that that went unnoticed. So I received that. And I,
Uh-huh.
that's what I feel like you and I both want for everyone,
Yes.
is the safety, the
Yeah.
ability to just, as you said, trust fall.
Yeah. But I don't know if you ever watch or go to any concerts. I've never gone to a concert by Pink, but I heard the song Trust Fall, and my whole body right now is kind of shivering also. And I said, oh, I gotta go wherever she is to see her sing that song in person.
You do.
I
I've
did.
been.
I
Oh,
did.
and how was it?
Fabulous. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So many of the songs really hit home about expression and her relationship to her father, and who was alcoholic. And so a lot of things I understood about her as a woman who was this bold, bold, bold
Mhm.
beauty.
Full beauty. And you know what I love about her is she is bold, and she does stand up for herself, and she does use her voice. And there was an interview that she was in, and someone asked her about Madonna and Madonna's face, because
Oh,
there had been photos that were released where Madonna's face was puffy, and what did she think about that? She immediately, you could see, I don't know if it was anger or if it was frustration or if it was whatever it was, but she's like, that woman has moved mountains basically in her career. She's done so much to move women forward. And here we are having this conversation, and all you care about is her face. And so I love so much that not only does she stand up and use her voice for herself and her family, but she uses it for everyone, for
yeah,
all people.
yes. Uh-huh.
It's beautiful.
Imagine having her on our podcast.
Oh, hashtag life dreams.
Yes.
Oh my word, Doreen. Yeah, I could talk about Pink all the time. My daughter and I went to see her concert
Yeah.
last summer. And so not only is she a spectacular performer, but I was with my daughter. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah. Empowering your daughter
yeah,
with models of
exactly.
what we can be as women. Yes, as females.
Exactly. Oh,
Hey,
I could
hey.
talk about this all day. So,
Um,
all right. I know that we're kind of coming to the end of the conversation. And so I want to be sure I get this piece in there. Where can people find you? And is there anything that you would like to offer to listeners?
Yes, I think the easiest is my name, website, DoreenDowning.com. Easy, right? DoreenDowning.com. Everything is there. My YouTube channel, programs, coaching. One, if people want to book a free complimentary 15-minute session, I would love to listen to what people are struggling with and how I might be able to help. Have lots of resources. And one resource I'd like to give today is a guide to, and it's called Your Guide to Magnetic Speaking. And it comes from the fact that I don't teach people how to be dynamic and out there and prancing around on a stage. I teach them how to be magnetic, which means draw people to them, to attract people to who they truly are, because the magnetism, the magnificent magnetism that's within is what I think when you speak, people get to be touched and inspired by that and walk away with having been touched and inspired by your energy.
Mm. And that is a gift. I have put your website and the link to get your free guide. So
Okay.
thank you for that. All of that is in show notes. And, you know, I will just add to that to encourage everyone to go and grab that free guide and start experiencing Dr. Doreen for yourself, because as you talk, Doreen, you are the expert in magnetism using your voice, because the whole conversation, I have felt myself leaning in, and I felt myself becoming excited, and I felt myself, and it's all what you are teaching is who you are.
Oh, wow. Thank you. Yes. Yes. And isn't it fun to bring yourself to a conversation? And I feel like there's right now with you a little bit of a mirroring going on. And I think that with you being so open and me being so open, it's like, hello in there. Hi. It's just like we recognize each other. So
Yeah,
thank you for this opportunity to, I don't know, play in the sandbox of life with you today.
absolutely. What I was picturing was on the swings. We were on the swings together. So you have us in the sandbox, I have us on the swings, but we're just at the
And the
playground
playground.
of life.
Yeah, the playground of life. Thank you so much, Pascal. And who's ever listening, I hope they keep tuning into your podcast, because this is, you used a word earlier today, magical.
Mm, thank you. Thank you so much. And for anyone who's interested, go to Doreen's website, check out her YouTube channel, because you can find our other conversation on there.
Yes.
Thanks, Doreen. You're welcome back anytime.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.